Hi guys, welcome to my channel. This is Arius. Let's make this Bubu with bias design together. I started by marking my start line, then I got my bust points, my waist line and my hip line. I drew a line across each of those markings. I went ahead to measure the length that I wanted and I added 1 inch seam allowance to the base, so I wrote a straight line across that as well. The next thing I did was to measure the neck. I used 4 inches by 5 inches for the neck. And after I was done with the neck, that's the neck for the front, I decided to mark the shoulder measurements. I came down by 1 inch from the shoulder and created a slope with my ruler. And then I marked the armhole and drew the straight line and also across, which now makes this my chest line. The next thing I did was to mark my bust measurement on that line, and I added 3 inches, 2 inches for how wide I wanted it to be and the extra 1 inch for the seam allowance. I repeated the same thing on the waist. I measured the waist divided by 4 plus 3 inches and also the hip divided by 4 plus 3 inches, and I marked all those measurements. At the base, I marked what I had on the hip line and I added about 4 inches for how wide I wanted the A shape to be. So I marked that. I went ahead to connect all these markings that I made on the fabric, that's the bust to the waist to the hip and all the way to the base, just like so. Just watch how I'm manipulating my ruler to fit all the style lines. Now I went back to the armhole. I measured what I had on the straight line like so, divided into 2, got the midpoint and measured 0.5 inch in from that midpoint, then connected it back to the chest line with my French curve like so. So for the front neck, there's a design. Just watch how I'm marking that out. So I connected the 5 inch to the 4 inch and then marked 1 inch down and shaped it in. When I just got to where that 1 inch was, I just shaped instead of the round shape, I just shaped it down. Just watch the way my hand is. This fabric is already folded into 4, which means I'm cutting the front and the back together. So I went ahead to draft out the neck for the back. So I used 2 inches for the neck depth at the back and maintained the 4 inch for the width. I marked that and connected that together. Here I'm just adding the extra 1 inch allowance to the base that I'm going to use to fold it in. Then at the side, just like so, I marked 1.5 inch up and I used my pattern master to just curve it in like that to give the sides a nice shape. Now I'm starting by cutting out the neck for the back, and I added 1/2 inch allowance at the shoulder slope, and then I continued cutting on all the style lines. Please, because this fabric is into 2, is folded like into 4. Cut out the neck for the back first, please. Don't make mistake to cut out the neck for the front first. So I just went ahead to cut it all out like so, and when I was done, I just separated the front from the back and went ahead to cut out the neck for the front. When opened, this is what the front neckline looks like. So the next thing I did was to cut out facing for the front, because I wanted this to look very clean and professional. I didn't want to use bias. So I folded a piece of fabric and placed the front neckline on it like so, and went ahead to shape it out exactly what I had on the neck. So the shoulder, I just used about like 1.5 inch and then just cut it out, just like you can see right here on your screen. Yes, so when I was done with that, I also went ahead to cut out the facing for the back piece. When I was done cutting the facing for the back, I just placed the 2 shoulders of the facing together to make sure that they were equal and that they would look clean in the outfit. So now I placed the front and the back on top of each other. From the waistline, I came down by 2 inches and notched that. That's where the pockets will be, so that it sits perfectly on the body. I already have some videos on the channel about how to cut pockets for this. So these are just the pockets. So for the sleeves, I folded my fabrics into 2. The first thing I did was to measure the length that I wanted, and then the sleeve circumference. Please note that because this kaftan is quite big or free, let me say, the sleeve measurement was also loosely taken, so that it will also be free. So I measured 4 inches for the armhole depth and connected that 4 inches all the way to the tip as a guide. I used this, I slanted it as a guide. Then I went ahead to connect it with curves like so. And for the base, I reduced the measurement I had up there, that's the round sleeve measurement. I reduced it by 1 inch and slanted that right in. And then I went ahead to cut out, and the sleeve was completely ready. So I'm cutting out the 2 sleeves together at this point. So for the sewing, this is the neck. I placed the front facing on the actual fabric, I went ahead to sew that and to also hem it I sewed it right side facing right side, turned it to the other side, and hemmed the base, the bottom parts. When I was done doing that, to prepare the front for the bias design, I started using my chalk to draw out style lines that I was going to follow. But please, when you're doing this, maybe give it like 1 inch space, because I realized this was a mistake when I was about placing the bias. The bias is like ½ inch wide, and the space I left in between wasn't wide enough, so I just had to improvise at that point. Also, just to make the fabric stable when when I start sewing the bias on the fabric, I went ahead to iron soft stay on the wrong side of the front of the upper parts of the parts that will carry the bias. So I went ahead to iron soft stay. You can also go ahead to iron the soft stay before the chalk marks, because by the time I was done, some of the chalk marks had cleaned off and I had to still redraw it again. To get the accurate design, I took this to the ironing table and ironed the center to give me a proper crease line that will be a marker for where the center of this is. So I just went ahead to do that. So here's the type of stay I was talking about. It's just soft. I think it's about 400 naira per yard or something. Yes. So I just used this and cut out what I needed for the upper part of the front piece. Yes, and when I did this, I actually also went ahead to cut it for the sleeve also, the parts that I was going to use the bias design on for the sleeve. I did the same thing and ironed that on it. So it's finally prepared and it's time to sew it. So this is me just sewing it. Sew it on the first side and then on the other side. And I kept using my hand to, follow that shape, to make sure that I was guiding it to follow that shape so that the shape doesn't maybe change to something else. So just watch as I'm trying to manipulate the bias to work according to the shape that I wanted. So this is what it looked like when I was done, and yes, this is what it also looks like at the back. So I'll still go ahead to just trim it properly and to make it look neat at the back. And yes, this is just what it looks like. So I also went ahead to draw my style lines on the sleeves. First of all, I went ahead to sew my seam allowance at the base of the sleeve, and then from there I marked my style lines and I proceeded to also sew the bias design on the sleeve. So learning from my mistake from the neck, you can tell that my lines are wider now. Like the space between each line is wider now. Yes, so I just went ahead to do that, and then I ironed the stay, and yes, I just went ahead to start sewing the bias design on it, just like so. So here I was done with the bias design, and this is the back neckline. I just went ahead to sew the facing, turn it, and hem it at the tip of the facing. Yes. So here's the fully prepared back neck. I've already put the facing, I've already hemmed it to the actual fabric, and then I'm just going to place the front and the back pieces right side facing right side, and I'm going to join it at the shoulders, the two shoulders. After doing that, I went ahead to join the sleeves to the armhole. Yes, I did that off camera. Just join the sleeves to the armhole. So I just placed it like this, right side facing right side, and then went ahead to run a straight stitch, a 1-inch stitch rather, from the sleeves all the way to the side pockets, all the way to the base of this outfit. And I also went ahead to hem the base of this outfit. So when I did all that, I proceeded to embellish it with beautiful stones. I used the hand applicator, yes, the stone applicator. So I used that. When I was done, I just put iron on it to make everything look good, and this was what it looks like when I was done. I hope you found this tutorial helpful. If you did, please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Thank you so much. Bye.